The Chair by John E. Ware. His last trip to the dentist's chair happened in May of 2004. When the drill came down and the pain ripped through his head like a red tornado, then and only then did Riley Parker vow to never darken another dentist's doormat again. Now he stood on a snow-covered welcome mat. A grinning white tooth with the word "Smile" in red lay out in front of the office door of Dr. Wilhelm Bies, D.D.S. "Here's Mr. Decay to make your day." He let out a somber chuckle and winced when the pain mashed into his jaw. "Oh, this damnable tooth. I should pull the thing out myself." He, of course, tried earlier in the week, a surefire home remedy of yanking it out by tying a piece of string to the painful tooth and to the bedroom door, something his dad would be keen on doing. But when he slammed the door, seeing his straight, black hair fling in front of his eyes, the surefire not remedy didn't go as planned. The door slammed, the string taut, and his jaw lunged forward as electric pain seared through his skull. He was left with a brilliant, thudding, bloody mess. It took him a half hour just to touch the string and pull it out of his mouth. The pain lingered for days. Now he was at the dentist, the very type of person he argued to never see again. If he had the gumption and a pair of pliers, another surefire remedy his dad would cook up, he'd try using that as well. But the very thought of the same excruciating pain made his head hurt again. He gave up. The dentist would have to do. He wiped the snow off his boots and opened the door to a warm office, happily leaving damp footprints across the doormat. The snow covered the mat, only leaving the word "mile." The warm, wood-paneled office was empty. Riley took 3 steps and looked around. No one home. All out to lunch, he figured. But the absurd reasoning behind it didn't settle with him. They all wouldn't have lunch at the same time, and they all wouldn't have left the door unlocked? "Where's the patients?" he said out loud. With his swollen jaw, it sounded like, "Whar's the pathents?" Riley stepped up to the little clerk's window and tapped lightly. Inside the blue-painted office was an empty chair. The records room across the hallway was also vacant. He looked for a note, a sign, anything to help answer his dilemma. None could be found. "Looks like pliers and a pint of whiskey will have to do." "No, sirree, I'm not going to resort to medieval medicine, I can tell you that," he said and tapped loudly on the glass. "Hello? Hello?" An audible shuffling came from the back hallway before the man appeared around the corner. Riley thought the dentist's smile was peculiar. A small tooth was missing from the corner of his right, upper set. The dentist wore the usual scrubs and doctor's coat. His coal-black hair was slicked back, looking rather wet. His face and figure were lean, but his jaws pumped red color into his pallid features. Riley thought the man had been outside in the snow. He stood for a moment, quiet and composed, and then arched his neck forward. "Help you?" the dentist asked. "Riley Parker? I have an appointment." "Oh, I see. Could you come back at a later time? Perhaps tomorrow?" The man said this with an awful grin. "I have some unfinished work in the back. Lots of work to do. Lots of work. You understand?" He rubbed his hands endlessly. "Hey, bud, I don't think you understand. I have a tooth that needs work. I'm in pain." Riley dug in his pockets and brought out a business card, one that had his appointment date written down in red ink and sent to his address. He slammed it against the window. The dentist, with a gap-toothed grin, studied the card for a moment and then looked deeply into Riley's eyes. He never blinked. "I'll be with you in a moment, Mr. Parker. Riley Parker." "Yes, Mr. Parker. Let me situate another patient, and then I'll be happy to fix you up," the dentist said. "Be sure to check out our magazine selection. Last year's Time magazine has some absolutely wonderful articles in it." He raised his hand and motioned to the wooden magazine rack on the far wall. As Riley turned, the dentist left and closed the small office door. All he could do was sit and wait. The article he read was long and boring. He was asleep when his name was called. "Mr. Parker?" The dentist leaned out of the main hallway door with a clipboard. "Yes," he answered and rubbed his eyes. he cautioned, rubbing his right jaw. "The doctor will see you now," the dentist said. Riley got up and shifted forward. But before he did, the dentist strolled to the front door and turned the lock, locking them both inside. "Slow day?" Riley asked. "On the contrary," the dentist replied. "It's been an arduous day, I'm afraid. Lots of people with very painful problems and awful mouths. Well, let's fix you up, shall we?" Riley followed the dentist down a hallway of closed doors to a baby blue painted room with a leather dentist chair in the middle. 4 bright, yellow arc lights hovered over the chair. To the side of the chair, he could see traces of shiny, metallic instruments neatly placed in a cloth-lined pan. The sound of trickling water came from a small, porcelain bowl. A green paper bib hung across the chair back. Riley felt a queasy, acid burp deep in his gut. He hesitated before entering the room. "Come now," the dentist said. "The chair won't bite." "Yeah, that doesn't make me feel better," Riley thought about saying, but then he feared the repercussions. I wonder if this is how the Protestants felt during the Inquisition. The running water sounded terrifying then, almost maddening. Chinese water torture, he thought. He's using plain and simple water torture. "Mr. Parker, if you please," the dentist asked, pointing to the chair. Riley sat in the chair and squirmed. Hanging on the wall across from him were 2 golf course paintings. A red flag in one of the pictures pronounced the hole to be the 9th. To his left was a stainless steel sink and green countertop with a set of very large teeth facing him. The big, toothy grin didn't make him feel any better either. "Why, Grandma? What big chompers you have." Riley tried to focus on other things around the room. "You're just a big crybaby," he could his father say. "What a crybaby." Riley put his head back and gripped the chair. "He wasn't a crybaby, he was a man, and he was going to take it like a man." The dentist came around in front of the chair and rubbed his hands constantly. His vacant tooth looked much larger. "Mr. Parker, would you like to be very comfortable?" Riley, understandably, nodded yes. "Good. Then why don't I just give you a little bit of happy gas to calm you down? I don't normally do this, but then I want all my patients well rested and calm. Okay?" For a moment, Riley seemed stumped. He'd never heard a doctor referring to anesthesia as happy gas. But then, this dentist didn't act like other sadomasochist crackpots he once encountered. Riley decided that not all dentists were created equal. This dentist seemed okay in his book. Sure, he would like some happy gas. Sure, he could do with a little uplifting humor. "Okay, Doc, whatever you say," Riley said. This put the dentist in high spirits. He came around the back of the chair and told Riley to sit back and relax. A little later, a mask came down across Riley's head and over his mouth and nose. "Now, Mr. Parker, just breath in and count back from 10, okay?" the dentist said. "Sure, thanks," Riley replied. He started to breathe in heavily, hearing the gas knob turn. His head instantly gained weightlessness, his whole body felling lofty. He even forgot the teeth glaring at him from the counter. He started feeling better and more at ease in the chair. That is, until he noticed the door ajar across the hallway. That is, until he saw the extended bloody hand lying on the blue-carpeted floor where it left a red smear. He thrust his head forward, but the gas knocked him backwards in the chair. His eyes fluttered shut. "That's one, Mr. Parker," he heard the dentist say. Way off in a distant echo of sleep. "One for the road, one flew over the cuckoo's nest, one flew the coop." "Don't worry," the dentist's words trailed. He started to sound like a broken record player. "I'm a professional." Riley then began his bad trip to Slumberland. He needed to piss like a rocket. The sound of water trickled him back to reality where he had the strangest dream. A dream that he saw, the teeth ate her. They were hungry. A hand lying across the floor in the next room. Except, the hand, a lady's hand from the look of it, laid palm open and stained red. He thought it was pointing, maybe at him, but that's ridiculous. Utterly insane. "Mr. Parker? Who's there? Mr. Parker? Are you awake?" Come on, wakey wakey. Riley dreamed that the hand was waving at him, the lady's fingers gently flapping in the air. Hey, Doc, what'd you give me? Riley asked, but as he wanted to scratch his face, the very motion couldn't be done. He wanted to scratch at the incessant itch, but his hands seemed, Riley! Riley! Wake up! Wake! Immobilized. Wake up, meathead! Slap came across his face. A moment of truth followed by a moment of terror shot through him. Riley pushed upward into the dentist's chair and realized his hands and feet were tied. Fright washed across his face, boiling in his head as he shook himself awake. Hey? Hey! What's going on? Please, Mr. Parker, the dentist replied. By now, the man leaned closer to him, his face almost touching the bridge of his nose. We don't want to disturb the other patients, do we? Help! 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 Riley began to scream, but with another slap, this time harder on swollen jaw, pain fired through his head like a bottle rocket. Oh, you moffer-foo butt-wipe crackpot! Tisk, tisk, such a dirty mouth, the dentist said, looming over him. Shall I clean it out? The dentist brought up a jug of bleach. The toxic fumes wafted through the air. Riley jerked his head no. His jaw felt fused and swollen now. The bleach bottle tipped lightly near his mouth. He tried to pull back as far as possible. Come now, Mr. Parker. Is that any way to treat a professional? Especially someone who would like to help ease your pain? Riley shook his head again. Sorry, he muffled, and saw the bleach bottle return to the sink. He relaxed, but only for a moment. The dentist pulled up a chair alongside him. You know, Riley, isn't it? Dentistry should be about the people. The whole idea of relieving pain and misery from one who is experiencing it, in many facets of that person's life, whether physical or mental. Do you follow? Riley bobbed his head yes. The dentist went on. The so-called specialists here don't truly understand this. I mean, you must look at it this way. How could they understand suffering if they haven't suffered? Like you and I. Do you understand, Riley? Riley nodded again, wondering if he could just get his hands around this guy's neck. And so, I offer you this. Let me extinguish your pain, and in return, I will work on your teeth at no charge whatsoever. Are you a dentist? Riley asked. I always dreamed of being a dentist, and my mother always wanted a doctor in the family. I have had so many visits to the dentist, I feel like I am one of them. Don't you want someone with that knowledge and experience to work on your bad teeth? As he said this, the dentist's hand reached for the cloth-lined pan where he gripped a scalpel. He held it steadily. Light glistened off the edge. Riley nodded yes, hesitantly, and saw the man's hand relax, the scalpel dropping to the tray. Good then, he said. Let's begin. Oh, at any time. If I see or hear you are in great pain, I shall be forced to end our little session and relieve you of said pain. I should add that the other patients were not as hospitable as you are. A very fat woman with blue hair called me a needle-nose prick. Well, I decided to end the session. I let the hot air out of her. It wasn't quick, but very effective. He flashed his teeth, all but the missing one, and sat himself down. Such gratitude! Well, now, let's begin by opening your mouth. Say, Riley saw the dentist's hand closing in, gripping a pair of pliers. Far away, a distant voice utters in his ear. So you play golf, eh? What's your handicap? Play much? Too bad. Too bad. You should floss more, Riley. Good oral hygiene helps you live longer. The pain lifted him out of the chair. His back arched a half moon when the dentist pried through his teeth with a metal pick. At one time, he honestly saw bright pink and blue dots dancing in the air. The clock told him he'd been in the chair for 30 minutes. 29 minutes of it were pure torture. It took all his strength to keep from screaming. His fingers clawed thin rips in the leather seat. He didn't know how much more he could take the pain. But you must take it! You must eat the pain in your gut, because if you don't... A sudden chill came over the room. Your session is up. So, Riley, Is there a Mrs. Riley at home? He let out an audible. No kids either? Again. Oh, that is disappointing, the dentist said. I was hoping this could become a family affair. After all, I feel we understand each other so very well. The dentist reached up and grabbed the yellow light, pulling it closer to Riley's face. He could feel the heat. It's so dark. I haven't realized how dark a mouth could be. He stood up and placed the pick back on the tray, where Riley could see it was stained in his blood. I'll be back momentarily. Now don't you move, okay? The dentist walked out, closing the door behind him, calling for a nurse. None answered. Riley slammed his mouth shut and squeezed his eyes hard, taking in the pain, taking in the misery. His eyes filled with electric shots of adrenaline. He tried for the ropes. Please, God, please get me out of this. He twisted and turned the rope, but he felt the knot tighten. He didn't think he was getting loose. The scalpel glistened in the yellow lights. The dentist would come back for another 30 minutes of pure hell, and he was stuck. What next? What next? Riley glanced at the large teeth on the counter. If you could only come alive and eat him, he thought with a musing, if not painful, chuckle. But you're not alive! Neither is... Terror seized upon him suddenly. He bent forward and saw the lifeless hand, wondering, thinking, calculating. How many? How many in the office today? He pictured this lunatic going from room to room, his scalpel slicing daintily through the air. Why, Mrs. Smith? Pain in your gums! We'll fix that! Slash. Slash. Why, Mr. Smith, have a cavity? Let's fill it. Glub glub. Have you seen my nurse? Good help is hard to find these days. I should teach her a lesson. She'll take her medicine and like it. Riley pulled at the ropes one more time before he heard the lock click and the door open. The dentist came back. This time, he had a head visor light on. He reached up and flipped a switch, producing a bright light. The brightness swallowed his face, all but his teeth and the small void in the corner of his mouth. That's better, he said, and grabbed a stool to bring it closer. I must say, you do have such beautiful teeth. I bet you rinse a lot, do you? Yeah. Yes, Riley said. Oh, heavens, that's right. You haven't rinsed. The dentist worked his way to the porcelain bowl and grabbed a small paper cup. He poured a drink of water and tipped the cup to Riley's mouth. Riley drank, the bright light making him wince, and started to gargle. He wanted to spit in the dentist's face, but then he thought his session might end. He would let out your air. He spat in the bowl. Very good, Riley. I must admit you are such a good patient. The dentist walked to the front of the chair, his hands folded together. I have at last found your problem. You simply have a cracked tooth, so we must fill it. Huh? Riley let out. He wet his lips. They tasted bloody. And you know what to do? Even with the bright light in his face, Riley could see the man's eyes bulge slightly out from their sockets. Yes, I do! I'm a professional, damn it! I'm a professional! The dentist disappeared behind the chair. Objects rustled about in the sink. My God, what next? But it was apparent to Riley what should come next. What should happen when you fill a cracked tooth? It seemed so ironically simple. Tears filled his eyes just thinking about it. A loud swill-swill filled the room. The dentist held a drill. Shall we begin, Riley? The lights moved in closer. His suffering felt like 1,000 wasps in his mouth. Each sting drained his strength far beyond the threshold. Riley didn't know how much more he could take it. His eyes watered continuously. His fingers clawed through the leather fabric and now hit wood. He could feel splinters dig into his fingertips. Despite the dentist's hopes and aspirations, the sadist had no idea what he was doing. He drilled into 3 wrong teeth and then found the right one. He missed the tooth altogether, briefly letting out a oopsie-daisy and hit the gum. The drill bit ate flesh and then bone and then sinew. His body fired upward in pain, his head jolting as far back as possible. But Riley never screamed. He held on. He had to hold on. He wanted to kill this bastard. Well, this is so exhausting, the dentist said. He put the drill down and turned off the light. The room looked darker. I'll be back in a moment, Riley. I need to get something from the nurse. The dentist got up, stumbling backward and throwing his hands out to balance himself. As he walked in the hallway, he wiped his forehead with the back of his hand, producing a wave of sweat. His face went sheet white. A little air, he said down the hallway. A little air. Please, nurse. With him gone, Riley tilted forward and tried for the ropes again. Blood oozed down his chin and pooled in his lap. He looked like he was bathed in blood. He twisted the ropes repeatedly, this time feeling the knot loosen a bit. Please, just a little more. Please, just... That's when he felt the knot loosen. He withered his hand back and forth and felt the rope loosen even more. He wriggled his wrist and heard the rope loop fall to the floor. He studied it for a moment and almost let out a burst of laughter. He slapped his hand across his lips to keep the sound at bay. He started working on the other rope again, but heavy footsteps came closer to the door. The rope! His mind grasped. The rope on the floor. Pick it up or you're dead! Riley reached down, stretching out his fingers. He caught a glimpse of the motionless hand across the hallway. A thin drop of blood curdled on its fingers. The red smear looked like an oversized comma on the blue carpet. The heavy footsteps thudded closer now. The rope, idiot! The rope! He stretched his fingers and found the tip of the rope, gripped it loosely, and pulled it slowly towards him. His hand returned to the chair in time for the dentist to come in, looking refreshed and ready to go, holding a Pepsi can. Wow, drilling takes a lot out of a man, eh, Mr. Parker? Riley nodded, keeping his mouth closed. He hoped the dentist didn't notice the missing rope. Riley was sitting on it. But something didn't settle with the dentist. His eyes looked rather worried. You're sweating, Mr. Parker? Riley looked up at the light. Light hot, he said. His mouth opened only slightly. Oh, the light's too close. It's too hot, I see. I see. Do you, idiot? Just come closer. The dentist walked to the overhead light and switched it off. He swung it back behind him. Just a little closer. Mr. Parker, are you okay? Your mouth is moving quite a bit. Just a little closer. Well, now, where did we leave off? Yes, that's right. Back to... Riley realized the dentist was looking his wrist. Just the dentist let out an aching gasp. Why, you! The dentist began. But Riley sprang forward, grabbing his hair. Now! Riley shouted. Let's rinse! Riley gripped hair in one hand and tried twisting loose with the other. He pulled the dentist's head back, his eyes darting outward, snarling with gap-toothed hate. Riley plunged him headfirst into the porcelain bowl, again and again. Mad hate rushed through Riley's body, his face 1,000 muscles taut with terror, his jaw lined, ballooning out horribly. The dentist tried to kick, but each time he struggled, Riley pounded his head repeatedly into the bowl. Bright, coppery blood flowed down the small sink. The air sprayed heavily in crimson. Riley felt his other hand come loose and reached down to untie his feet. As he did, he saw a flash of silver darting towards him. The dentist flung his free hand to the tray and found the scalpel, tipping the pan over. But it was too late. Riley blocked his hand and forced the scalpel into the dentist's jaw. He yelled fiercely. It didn't take Riley long to get up and sling the dentist back into the chair, placing his foot on his chest while wrapping the ropes around his waistline. He worked methodically. Now, Dr. Death, what seems to be the problem? Riley blurted out. The dentist, his face looking like raw meat, bobbed his head back and, "Oh, it's your tooth. Well, I can fix that." The dentist's screams were no match for the high-powered stainless steel drill. It wasn't until Riley hit the jawbone that he saw smoke. Well, now, all done, Mr. Parker. Dr. Jim Hardman, DDS, stated. He had the eyes of an angel. His face was well-rounded and pink. You'll feel much better after the anesthesia wears off. Hardman looked to his nurse and nodded. Please inform Mr. Parker's party that he'll be in the recovery room shortly. Riley smiled, but not too wide. His jaw still felt sore. His mouth was also stuffed with cotton balls. Very traumatic what you went through, Mr. Parker, Hardman said. His statement sounded coarsely, like a question, a sinister question. But he's okay in my book, Riley thought. His stature was thick. He wore thick, round, bottle-wide glasses, and he spoke a thick southern drawl. All in all, Hardman was just thick. He probably stood no more than 5'6" tall. Riley seemed pleased with those odds. Yeth, Riley tried. It came out slobbery and stupid. He didn't care. Well, I do hope your recent experience doesn't turn you off with the dentistry profession, and that your experience with me wasn't too painful. A sudden screaming thought entered his thoughts. I'm a professional. Riley shook his head lightly. Nope, he wanted to say. Not one bit. Upon his head-bobbing answer, Hardman smiled. Well, good. Just don't panic when you get the bill. Riley gave a short chuckle, but it came out thick and stupid, just like the set of oversized teeth the doctor displayed on his desk. April 2008.